In the vast expanse of the Saudi Arabian desert lies a story of transformation, a tale of one man's quest for redemption and self-discovery. Welcome to our exploration of A Hologram for the King. Directed by Tom Tykwer and based on the novel by Dave Eggers, A Hologram for the King follows Alan Clay, a struggling American businessman, as he embarks on a pivotal journey to pitch a holographic teleconferencing system to the Saudi government. Alan's journey is not just about business. It's a journey of self-discovery. As he navigates the unfamiliar landscape of Saudi Arabia, he also confronts his own personal demons and shortcomings. Along the way, Alan forms unlikely friendships and finds solace in the simplicity of human connection. Through his interactions with Yousef and Zahra, he begins to question his own priorities and values. Tom Hanks delivers a nuanced performance, capturing the complexities of Alan's character, as he grapples with loneliness, regret, and the desire for redemption. Ultimately, A Hologram for the King is a meditation on the universal themes of resilience, human connection, and the search for meaning in a rapidly changing world. Tom Hanks is an inherently likable actor. Hell, he was voted the most trusted person in America in a 2013 poll. It's next to impossible not to fall prey to his everyman charms. And it's solely thanks to these that his latest film, A Hologram for a King, is watchable. Based on Dave Eggers' bestseller about an exasperated American businessman who ventures to Saudi Arabia for a pitch meeting with the region's monarch, Tom Tykwer's adaptation is a meandering mess of half-baked storylines that amount to little. Hanks' affable presence keeps it all afloat. Alan Clay Hanks arrives in the Middle East with a lot on his mind. Reeling from a recent bitter divorce and trying to stave off imminent foreclosure, Clay needs to land a career-saving IT contract by making a big sale to the king for a massive development in the desert. Shortly after landing, still jet-lagged and under intense pressure to deliver from his superiors back in Boston, Clay is dismayed to learn that the king is nowhere to be found. In the meantime, as Clay waits for what seems like an eternity in the desert, he befriends a local driver, Alexander Black, with an affinity for 80 Seconds Rock, and shares flirtations with a Danish woman, the Duke of Burgundy's Sidse Babett Knudsen, working in the area, who gets him blind drunk on contraband hooch. Complicating matters is a large, suspicious growth that Clay discovers on his back. To find out just what it is, Clay visits a hospital, and it's there he meets Zahra and Sarita Choudhury, a beautiful Saudi doctor who immediately takes a liking to the droll American. And that's just the first half hour. Tykwer's adaptation is extremely busy in the narrative department. It's only in its final passages that the film settles into a welcome groove, exploring the tender romance between Clay and Haken. There's so much going on that when, spoiler alert, the king finally makes his appearance, to the delight of Clay, the moment lands with a whimper, despite a surprise cameo from a certain Spectre star. Tykwer, who previously worked with Hanks on the similarly overstuffed Cloud Atlas, throws his arsenal of filmmaking tricks at the screen, best put to use in his breakthrough thriller Run Lola, Run, in a series of dream sequences, and a debaucherous party scene at a Danish embassy that would make Caligula blush. While visually stimulating, they simply pull focus, like so much in A Hologram for a King. A Hologram for the King opens with a new greatest hits moment in Tom Hanks' acting history. Set to Once in a Lifetime by the Talking Heads, he's shown as a businessman whose life has become a joke. As he sings the opening lyrics La William Shatner, How Did I Get Here? The film mixes images of his house, car and wife going up in purple smoke, with a close-up of him riding a roller coaster, looking blankly at the camera. Hanks' filmography is full of numerous mainstream performances, but this offbeat one takes viewers back to watching him meander around Steven Spielberg's The Terminal, or stuck at a crossroads in Robert Zemeckis' Castaway. As Tom Tykwer's adaptation of David Eggers' novel proves, It's entertainment just to stare back at Hanks. Here's a reasonably sized star vehicle that finds exciting purpose in presenting an existential crisis. The opening sequence is a dream he has on a plane while flying to Saudi Arabia, leaving behind his past life of tanking the Schwinn company when he outsourced hundreds of American jobs, hoping to make the money to pay for his daughter's college tuition. Hanks' Alan Clay is now trying to sell a hologram contract to the King of Saudi Arabia, who wants to build a city in the middle of the desert that will populate 1.5 million people by 2025. The irony is hard to resist. From the beginning, a former failure of empathy, now selling a machine for impersonal business, to an enterprise that may as well be a mirage for a king who never shows up. Alan has to travel an hour every morning from the city to the project's headquarters, only for a receptionist to tell him that the king is not in. The strange stresses pile up as his business trip becomes a seemingly endless, yet highly amusing farce. Alan's small tech team is stored in a tent but have no Wi-Fi, AC or food. Perhaps by no coincidence, a giant bump suddenly appears on Alan's back. The cycle that the king's indifference places Alan into leads to a poignant truth behind our own dark clouds. Our partial responsibility to push back against the negative forces of nature overwhelming us. Clay misses his shuttle to the king's headquarters because he somehow oversleeps each morning, which in turn forces him to call upon his driver or impromptu cultural guide, Yousef Alexander Black. Almost midway into the film, when Alan decides to defy the receptionist's demand to not venture past the lobby, he breaks the cycle. He gets upstairs, and people know his name, as if they had been expecting him to sneak up there all along. Actions against his bump yield similar results. In a feat of invested storytelling and performance, Tickwer's strange movie makes these minor changes seem huge. It's a disappointment, then, when a hologram for the king transitions this anti-fatalism into a succession of epiphanies you can get wholesale. As the narrative changes from a fascinating circle to a flat journey for Alan to find his new self, it drags to metaphorical checkpoints. Like when Yousef drives Alan off a different path, and later, when Alan is face to face with a wolf that is about to attack some sheep. As it slowly devolves into another midlife crisis, a broad tale, the movie's charm starts to evaporate. After many car ride scenes and wide-open shots of the desert, Tickwer injects a highly visual romance into the third act. One can imagine that aside from this story touching upon his interests in the passage of time, the very passionate storyteller Lola Cloud Atlas, wanted to see a man and a woman swimming underwater, in a bright blue water that directly contrasts endless sand. But even as poetic defiance towards a nation that publicizes executions more than displays of affection between the opposite sex, Tickwer can't match the previous exhilaration of Alan's isolation. The people Alan interacts with closest are sporadically intriguing, with two performances that make clear efforts to expand beyond script devices. Black's Yousef has a naturally progressive camaraderie with Hanks, which Black treats with friendliness and occasional animation despite being, like with Christopher Abbott's Fahim Ahmadzai in Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, more whitewashed casting. Sarita Choudhury has an expanding part in Alan's life as his doctor, and brings a sincere delicacy. The film's most distinct character remains the king's new city, which says just as much about his goated-like presence when shown as abandoned, skeleton-like skyscrapers with people living inside. Hanks remains a great everyman, which means here he can be a wonderful outsider, a surrogate into our realizations or failures. To Hanks' credit, the actor is also able to find empathy for a recession-era villain. Every time Tickwer randomly cuts back to the disturbing silences of Alan's past life standing in front of hundreds of workers, about to make a horrific announcement, our heart sinks with him. In some scenes he makes us laugh when his chairs break 3 times. In many others he simply welcomes us to feel small with him. Alan is one of Hank's less flashy roles, but it largely confirms why we've made him such a central figure in American film acting. Join us on this cinematic journey as we delve deeper into the rich tapestry of a hologram for the king. Subscribe for more film analyses and discussions. Don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your thoughts on a hologram for the king. Hanks is stellar, playing an exasperated businessman waiting in Saudi Arabia to meet with the region's king in hectic adaptation of Dave Eggers's novel.